Hi everyone. We're going to end this section on addition and subtraction of fractions with every student's favorite part of mathematics, which are word problems. So I'm just going to go through a couple quick ones, similar to ones you may be asked to do in the class, and talk about how I might solve these. So the first one is about Fred, and Fred, by the way, is my father. He used to actually walk to school. So Fred walked 2/7 of the distance to school. And being an athlete, he then ran a quarter of the distance. What fraction of the distance to school still remains for Fred? What I would start off is a general problem-solving strategy that I think you should all know and use, and that is just get a picture of this. So what Fred does is Fred has some distance to school, and this is what's important with these problems. You say, well, what is the whole? The whole is the whole distance to school. So that's the whole, is the distance to school. Fred walks 2/7 of that distance, whatever that is. So that's 2/7 of the whole. Then he walks a quarter of the distance. And the question is, what portion is still remaining? Which is this part right here. So you might say, okay, well, how would I solve that? If you think of the whole, remember the whole is one whole unit. So I'll call that 1. So if I take the whole unit and I subtract off the portions that Fred has already walked, that would give me what's remaining. So the answer to this is going to be 1 minus 2/7 and minus 1/4. I would find a common denominator for all of these. You've got 1 unit, 7 and 4. So 1 you can think of as a fraction as 1/1. The common denominator for 1, 7, and 4 is 28. So this will equal 28/28 when I multiply the top and bottom by 28. For 2/7, the equivalent fraction is, I'm going to change the color of my pen here. You've got 2/7, and that common denominator would be 28, so I need to multiply the top and bottom by 4. So multiply by 4, multiply by 4. For this 1/4 common denominator of 28, multiply the top and bottom by 7. So what I will be left with when I find that common denominator is I've got 28/28 minus 8/28 minus 7/28. And in order of operations from left to right, 28 minus 8 would be 20, minus 7 more would be 13. 13 things. Remember, the object are 28ths. Think of this algebraically. 13/28 is what's remaining. I cannot simplify that. I cannot reduce it at all. So that's the fraction of the whole, the fraction of the distance that Fred still has to walk. The second question, since I do a fair amount of cooking in our family, deals with pizza dough, one of my favorite things to make. So a pizza dough recipe calls for 4 1/4 cups of flour. And so there is the pizza. And to get into that pizza, I need 4 1/4 cups of flour going to make the whole pizza. So the whole in this case is 1 whole pizza. It's important to think, what is the whole in each of these cases? 4 1/4 cups total are in this recipe. 2 1/3 cups of that 4 1/4, I'll kind of divide it up. So this section right here is made of semolina flour, so it's 2 1/3 cups. So what's remaining? What's the part of the pizza that's not made of semolina? And that would be the section up top, which I'll shade in a different color. Again, it's very helpful for kids in particular to see visual sort of visual tools, visual representation of the problem. This is the piece I'm looking for. That's the part that's not made of semolina. That's going to be the total amount, 4 1/4 cups, minus the portion that's semolina, which is 2 1/3 cups. And there's various strategies you can use for this. What I like to do is convert everything to, first of all, to an improper fraction. So 4 1/4, that is 4 quarters, 16, plus one more quarter. So that's going to be 17 quarters. Minus 2 1/3, so it's 2 of 3/3, so 3 times 2, or 2 full thirds, so 2 times 3 is 6. 6 plus one more makes 7 thirds. Now I cannot subtract those without a common denominator. So the common denominator in this case, you've got 4 and you've got 3. So the common denominator, actually the LCM, is going to be 12. So if I multiply the first fraction by 3 on the top and the bottom to create the equivalent fraction, for the second fraction, I'm going to multiply by 4 on the numerator and the denominator. I should use the proper terminology. And that creates equivalent fractions. And those fractions are 3 times 17, which is 51, over 12, minus 7 times 4, which is 28 twelfths. So we've converted them to a common denominator. I can now do the subtraction. 51 twelfths minus 28 twelfths leaves me with 23 twelfths. Unfortunately, that's an improper fraction, so let's create a proper fraction out of that. What I would do is I would say that's equal to, we've got 12 twelfths plus what's remaining. If I take out 12 twelfths, I've got 11 twelfths remaining. So the answer is going to be 1 and 11 twelfths cups of flour.